The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on our live shows.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company.
And this show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Shawn Heron. I get the distinct honor to not only not be on camera right now, but to introduce our panelists tonight. First up, we've got a creative thinker with a passion for things that go bang, creative director for Athlon Outdoors, Ken Ross. Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be here, Shawn. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. And we've got a brand newbie. We've got freelance writer, firearms instructor, and passionate 2A advocate, Karen Hunter. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So glad you guys are here. Before I get started, I just want to briefly touch base. PatriotPatch.co. We saw Jake at the Bullpup shoot in Illinois, and he had all kinds of great patches. If you're not addicted to patches right now, just give it a little bit of time. I promise you will be. Go to PatriotPatch.co, sign up for the Patch of the Month Club and all that great stuff. And while we were at the Bullpup shoot, we saw Manticore Arms. And Ken, I don't know if you've seen any of the social media, but have you seen the Scorpion Evo Bullpup?
Yeah, I have seen it, and I never wanted an Evo until I saw that. It's like, oh yeah, I need to get one of those.
Absolutely. I got the Bullpup kit just delivered overnighted to my office right there, and the Evo showing up in the next couple days. So I cannot wait.
Yeah, you're a lucky man. I got to get one of those. No, actually, I need to come get yours.
Well, I mean, that's fine. You can come shoot it with me or get it shot at you. Either one is your choice.
Okay, you keep yours.
ManticoreArms.com. Coupon code is TWG10 to save on all the great products that they make. Let's get right into it, guys. Illinois concealed carry permit holder comes to police aid during shootout. And kind of, it's that type of thing. Officers were chasing after somebody. That person got out, started shooting at them. It says in the article automatic gun, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't been able to confirm that. In any other places, the concealed carry owner got out of his vehicle, began shooting at the suspect. The Cicero town president was proud of it, said he got out and started helping police, which is something I've got to be proud of. So far, everything looks good. And don't forget, this is actually in Illinois. So kind of an interesting thing, but, good news. And hopefully the concealed carry permit holder, or I'm not even sure, CCW, I guess it is in Illinois. They saw something going down. They had the skills, hopefully, and the training, hopefully, to help. And they did so. Karen, I'll start off with you.
Well, my opinion, I don't know for sure, but I do not think it was an automatic weapon that the person had.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that suits their purpose to put a little spin on it. But I think it's great. And I think that we're not going to hear a lot about this as much as we do other things. But I think it's great that he's able to help and that he's being commended on it.
Definitely. Ken?
Yeah, I 100% agree with what Karen said. He's got a lot of cojones there. He's got a couple hanging down there because that could have gone sideways for him. The police could have thought he was not helping them. But it's great they didn't. One of the officers was shot, so that left one officer defending himself and a citizen. I know that police officer has to be very happy. It's been very recently that Chicago is, Illinois has started the CCW permitting process there. I think been 5 years maybe, something like that. 3, 4, 5 years maybe.
Man, I don't even want to guess, but yeah, it's pretty recent.
Yeah, so I'm sure that officer is glad that they're able to have those permits.
Yeah, and I mentioned the town president. Is that what I said? Yeah, town president. I mentioned his quote, but now I also noticed another quote. Superintendent Jerry Clada, he is the Cicero police superintendent, said, "We were lucky enough to have a citizen on the street. On the street, there's who's a concealed carry holder, and he's also engaged in gunfire." I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, but I think it's a good thing. I don't know if that's typos or speakos. One of those things happened, but good news all around.
Yeah, it is all the way around. And, I'm glad to see that, this person was trained. That's one of the things, we see so many of them, make big mistakes. And it sounds like this person did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. The bad guy was hit once, I believe, near the abdomen. It's not clear at this point whether it was the officers or the concealed carry holder. But in this case, in this very specific instance, fantastic news, and good on everybody there. Glad everyone is okay. Next story is PA man, and this is near and dear to my heart, guys, but Pennsylvania man is sentenced to 5 years in prison for shooting at imaginary clowns when he was drunk. I've never done this, but this is something that my friends and family would be like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me at all if it was me. But yeah, he was in his house, fired a shotgun in his apartment, he was in his apartment, fired a shotgun into the floor, definitely put people at danger below him. Cops showed up, arrested him, and now he gets 22 months to 5 years in state prison. He totally took responsibility for it, apologized for it, but doesn't matter. What he did was, in my opinion, really, really, really bad. If you get so drunk that you can't trust yourself around firearms, then, sober guy needs to lock everything up and hide the key so a drunk guy doesn't find it, I guess. Or just maybe don't have guns if you're that irresponsible.
Well, that's my question, because I've seen a lot of drunk people. Do they really hallucinate like that? Or maybe was there something else that he might have been on?
Maybe. It says that he wasn't trying to harm anyone, but reacting to some type of hallucinatory event. So I'm like, yeah, the whole thing seems really weird to me. Now, Karen, have you ever seen two small clowns when you were drinking?
No. Well, strange men in bars maybe, but not actual clowns.
Ken, what are your thoughts here?
Clowns. I can kind of understand the clown thing, wanting to shoot clowns, but getting so drunk to where you see them is a bad thing. It goes back to locking your guns up. When if you're going to get one on that bad, you might want to lock up the guns and forget the combination. That night. Yeah. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and hopefully he learns his lesson and gets the lesser part of that sentence.
I just think things are not going to go well for him in prison if he doesn't beef up that story somehow.
Yeah, don't be like, dude, I was shooting at clowns, so now I'm serving jail time. You have to be like, I murdered 6 clowns, and that's why I'm here. Something like that. But it's a story that people should heed and listen to, because honestly, if you're going to shoot at small clowns, make sure that you're trained enough to actually hit the imaginary clowns so that there's evidence when the police get there. Because otherwise you're going to end up in this guy's situation.
They were hiding behind the couch.
Yes.
He couldn't get them.
But also don't drink and touch guns.
Do not do that. Absolutely.
Police seize dozens of guns from man accused of shooting at city workers. So we see this all the time. This comes to us from San Diego. It is on MSN.com. We see this all the time. We see someone gets in trouble for something. Cops go to their house and then they raid, and there's a stockpile of firearms, and it turns out to be usually like a high point and 200 rounds of ammunition and, a copy of Soldier of Fortune or something like that. In this case, they don't actually use the word arsenal anywhere, but I would say that that's pretty reasonable. 75,000 rounds of ammunition, as well as explosives, a smoke grenade, 4.5 pounds of black powder, 21 rifles, a bunch of handguns as well. So this guy obviously had a big collection of firearms and ammunition. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is wrong is that there was a water department worker that came on his porch, saw him through the window, said, "Hey, I'm here from the water department. We're working in your neighborhood and I'm trying to fix the water." And the guy came out on the porch with a shotgun, said, "I don't care who you are," and shot at him. So awful. Ken, why don't you start us off on this one? I don't even really know what to say.
Yeah, this guy was so in the wrong, and shooting outside of his home at someone who did not present a threat to him. That's just insane. And the guy needs to be prosecuted. Definitely. The stash of ammunition and the firearms, you're right, that was quite a collection, because as soon as they said the ammunition, I was like, oh, I wish I had that.
I know, me too. I was like, 75,000, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the number of handguns is, he's finally somebody who's actually got me beat. Yeah.
Totally agree. Karen, what are your thoughts?
Actually, well, it was heinous and ridiculous, and he deserves to be punished, and just, I feel bad for the city worker's family. The only thing that I find kind of irritating is that I wish the news would just report what actually happened, because it's terrible. However, in that article, they referred to his collection as hoarding weapons. and referred to a school being down the street like he had a, like he had a plan. But I mean, he was almost like 80, 79?
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably accumulated a lot. I mean, I hope when I'm 80, I have that much. And Steven Spielberg has one of the largest weapons collections in the world, and that's considered a collection. But sometimes I think in these news stories, they add a little bit, just to cause people to be scared. But yeah, he needs to be prosecuted and probably put up for the remainder of his days.
Yeah.
And this whole story, I looked at his age, and it made me think about, at some point, we're all going to reach a point where we probably shouldn't have firearms in our home. And who's going to tell us that we shouldn't? When we start losing, when we aren't able to drive anymore, when your kids say, Dad, it's time for you to start, just giving me a call when you need to go to your doctor's appointments. Yeah, you shouldn't be driving. But who makes the call for the elderly when they're, their friends? They don't have too many of them around anymore. So who's making that call for them? Who's having that hard conversation with them about maybe it's time for you to not have these firearms in your home? I'll keep them for you, or let's put them in my safe at my home. And you can come get whatever you want whenever you want it. But at least keeping an eye on someone who might be pushing that age a little bit.
I want to go down a rabbit hole and veer off because what you just said, I think, is very important. And I want to talk about last night. Maj Touré was actually on a debate hosted by Vice, which you may recognize, the news channel from HBO, and they do all kinds of stuff. But it was moderated by a guy from Vice, and it was a lady, Chelsea, from some anti-gun group. Don't really care what her name is, but and Maj Touré was the pro-gun person. And he talked about our community needs to police our own because safety needs to be of paramount importance. And we need to police our own. And then he used an example exactly like you just did, Ken. Old man, or old woman getting up in years, getting some dementia, probably not responsible enough at this point, showing lots of confusion and things like that, and taking the firearm away. And I thought it was interesting in the comments that the pro-gun people were kind of up in arms about that a little bit, saying, did he just advocate taking an old man's guns, things like that. And it's an uncomfortable topic. I can tell you personally that one of my dear friends just had to do this with his father-in-law. The guy is just like out of it, having dementia, having accidents all the time. And this is a guy who's had a couple negligent discharges, and they took his firearms because at this point, it was too risky to have him keep them. And that's a terribly horrible decision to have to make for someone that has had these firearms for their whole life. But I agree with Maj. We need to police our own. We need to try to do the right thing. And yeah, we're going to make mistakes along the way, but I just thought that was a very interesting point that you brought up, Ken. Karen, would you like to round us out on the story?
Yeah, I think there's something that should be done, especially when that happens. But it's kind of like at what point, do the wrong people get involved and then mandate, at this age, you're going to turn them off. You just see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
don't even know how they would go about that.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And Shawn, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep us going down this path.
No, it's fine.
I don't believe that any law can dictate that, because I could be 90 years old and die from a heart attack, but have my mind sharp as a tack, which I know is not going to happen because I'm already on my way out. But yeah. So we can't say at this age, this is when your driver's license is taken and these are when your guns are taken. But I do believe that we need to establish relationships in our community. I've got a dear friend of mine who's probably 20 years older than I am, and we've had this conversation. Honestly, we've had a hard conversation. I said, this is going to be hard for you to hear. And I said, and if I lose it before you do, I would hope you would have the conversation with me. He said, but you and I need to back each other up. If something is going on with you, I'm going to have this conversation with you. I'm going to tell you it's time to put them away and lock them up. And he agreed. And those are the kind of relationships we need to establish in our community.
Yeah, I could not agree more. So definitely people should think about stuff like that. And again, I don't want the government telling us this. I think we should police ourselves as responsible firearms owners. Again, I'm not asking for extra legislation. That's the last thing that I would ever ask for. All right, next story. Dallas PD goes fishing in Botham Jean case to try and help officer that killed him. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on this. We've talked about it in past episodes. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but dang, they're going all over the place on this. This is the case of the cop that was off shift, got off on the wrong floor. What she thought was her apartment pushed on the door. It was a little bit ajar, sees a shadow in there. The shadow is the person who lawfully and legally lives there, and then gives him verbal commands and shoots him, and he dies. And then you put yourself in the place of the person whose apartment door just got pushed open and some lady screaming at him from the doorway and then shoots him. So obviously he doesn't have any requirement to comply. That would be ridiculous. But all I see is these stories where they're getting search warrants for his apartment and talking about how they found some marijuana. Like, who cares? He's the victim in this, in my opinion. I'm just honestly a little bit taken aback by all the stuff I'm seeing in the media about this police department kind of going after him and running a tiny bit of a smear campaign, for lack of a better term. Karen, are you familiar with this, and what are your thoughts?
Yes. I think it's terrible. I think this poor man, I think if they're going to go after and investigate anything, it should be her, because what are you on that you don't know what floor you're on where you live, that you don't recognize your own front door? None of it makes sense. And she said that it was ajar. I think the story even changed, and neighbors say that they heard pounding on the door, like she's pounding on the door. So I don't know. I just think it's not fair. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to his family. And I don't know why they're just not owning it and seeing what is her deal. Obviously, I just think it's heinous.
Yeah. Ken?
Yeah, I agree. This is a big mistake on her part. How is she policing the streets if this is how she's thinking? If she leaves work and this is her state of mind, how is she actually policing the streets? That makes me, even if it was a mistake and she's making that type of mistake at her own residence, what is she doing when she's out in the public? That worries me. Is she working triple shifts? What's going on where she's that out of it? That concerns me. And doing this smear campaign on this guy is just insane. It doesn't matter. At this point, it wouldn't matter if he had a block of cocaine sitting on his desk.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Completely agree. He could have 55 guns, 75,000 rounds of ammunition. He is the victim in this. Whether he was a good guy, a bad guy, it doesn't matter. He was sitting on his couch in his home. Someone opened the door and shot him. That's pretty clear. Of course, I want them to, unearth all the facts, but it just seems to me like they're pushing in one direction they shouldn't be. I will say that I've also read in a couple other places that Dallas PD is under heavy overtime requirements right now. And honestly, probably some of this blame, some of this responsibility lands on the shoulders of her superiors. And that's probably why they're kind of pushing this so hard, because it is a little bit surprising personally for me to see.
I agree.
I agree too.
Bill Ruger Jr. passes away. Just a little bit of an aside. Former Ruger CEO passed away. He took over from his father, William B. Ruger Sr., in 2000 and retired himself in 2006. Was the CEO and on the board of directors and all that stuff, and passed away. I don't think this will have any real bearing on the operations of Ruger. He's been gone for quite a while, but kind of interesting side note. Do you guys have anything to add here?
Sorry for the family.
Yeah.
It's always hard when you have a loss like that. I did a little bit of looking when I saw this earlier in the week to see how he affected the company. I know after the father passed away that they were freed up to do a lot of things that they weren't doing in the company before, types of guns that they would produce. And it looks like he was at the very beginning of that. So it looks like he might have had a little bit of influence in the turnaround of Ruger.
Karen?
I agree with Ken.
I was also just going to say that, Ruger in the last 5 years has been making some good strides and doing some really cool stuff. Not sure who exactly is responsible for all that, but they deserve a pat on the back, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Next story, intern for Senator Ted Cruz arrested in Washington, D.C. for unregistered ammunition. Wow. Here's what happened. The guy gets into a little bit of a kerfluffle with somebody. They're in their cars. The cops respond. The cops show up. The cops see a couple of shotgun shells in his vehicle. So he is immediately arrested because he has, what's the term that they use? Unregistered ammunition. So in D.C., you can have ammunition for a gun that you don't legally own and have registered, or whatever other hoops you have to get around there, which means that apparently he didn't have a shotgun and literally arrested for this. He's been put on leave by the Ted Cruz campaign. He was just an intern, not a big deal there, not anyone who's mandatory to have for any kind of campaign or anything. But I think it's interesting that he was placed on leave. Maybe that's just their policy, but this is just such a stupid and ridiculous law. Karen, what are your thoughts?
It just takes my mind to where I find ammo on me, like in my makeup bag, in my pockets, in my washer. I mean, I just think it's ridiculous. Like,
I went to pay for lunch today and this bullet fell on the floor. This cartridge fell on the floor. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's my worst nightmare in the airport is a bag that has ammo in it. I have it all over the place. So yeah, I check my bags, every single pocket, dump them out, get a Kleenex and wipe them out just to make sure that I have no ammo in any of my bags. It's one of my worst nightmares, getting frisked by some short guy with thick fingers because I left a round in a bag.
Yeah. Not just that, but you can't even have the casing. If it's an expended case, you can nothing. Yeah, you can get arrested for that in Washington D.C.
It makes me wonder, like, how free are we really?
That's immediately what I thought about is the differences as we cross state borders. So you figure this kid drove from another state. Maybe he's a shotgun shooter at home. Maybe he was doing some clay shooting outside of D.C. And he goes to work and gets arrested simply for crossing a border, an imaginary line, and having the wrong thing in his car. So from one place to another, you can be arrested for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Just kind of crazy. Like Karen said, how free are we? Well, in some places like New York and obviously Washington, D.C., it doesn't feel that free at all.
Mm-hmm.
Next story I just put in there just because I think that serial killers are interesting and they think that a Border Patrol agent could be a serial killer. So basically killed 4 in Texas, the 5th one, or maybe the order might be a little out. But one person got away and then they basically arrested him. He's been a Border Patrol agent for 10 years and now they think that he's a little bit of a serial killer. So there's not really a whole lot in this that has to do with This Week in Guns, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. A person using the authority that they have as a government agent and, doing, I guess, some side work. Ken, what are your thoughts?
My wife and I watch these crime shows all the time, and there was one on television where this police officer was doing robbing women and raping women, and that's what it reminds me of. And yeah, it's crazy because you look at them and you go, okay, this is the law officer. He couldn't be doing anything to hurt me. And we kind of surrender a little bit of our freedom to people like that. So it's unfortunate for all of the people that were killed, and I'm glad they caught him.
Yeah, definitely got him off the streets. Karen?
It's just scary.
It really is, right?
I mean, it's just...
Yeah, he was getting him in his vehicle, pointing guns at him. The one that got away was able to jump out of the vehicle.
Is that how they caught him? Because the one that got away?
Yes, it is. And then he was basically hiding in a truck and they were able to find him. So very curious to kind of hear more about this case from a purely intellectual standpoint. Not that it's gun related, not that it's 2A related, just that it
makes me wonder how many more. I mean, he's been this for 10 years. How many more maybe has he killed?
Yeah, absolutely. And someone on the live chat just asked where it is. This is from Houston, Texas.
Yeah, Dr. William April, I think, put this in his feed, his Instagram feed, and with the tag, they are not us. Yeah. So the way that they think, you go, wow, that's crazy. Well, no, that's just not how we think. And criminals don't think the way we do.
Absolutely. Next story is District Court Judge denies relief on Maryland SB 707 bump stock law that is so vague it could include gun oil. So we've talked about this on the show before, but basically United States District Court Judge James Bretter denied Maryland shall issue's motion for temporary relief against the state's ban. It is against the possession of rapid fire trigger activators. Apparently you can fill out a form and send it into the ATF and that kind of gets you around it. But the judge actually warned the state that he had real problems with how vague the statute was. In short, we don't know what is covered by this language covering a device, in quotes, that increases the rate of fire, in quotes, and neither does the state, the judge, or anyone else. The potential for arbitrary enforcement is quite real. And what that means is anything that increases the rate of fire, they do mention a device. So I think that would be a little bit of a jump to talk about gun oil, but it really can increase the rate of the action, which I guess would make sense. And I guess when he talks about arbitrary enforcement, if you got an officer or some other law enforcement agent that really had it in for you, you know, this is one of those kind of throw on charges, and they could kind of twist it however they want. And in my opinion, we have no room for laws. They could be twisted however they want. It needs to be spelled out, extremely clear about exactly what's happening, what the violation is, and what the repercussions of that violation are. Karen, thoughts on this one?
I agree with you 100%. And part of me is so tired of hearing about the bump stocks.
Oh, I know.
Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, are they really, I don't know. No. I just think it's ridiculous. I think they're like picking at things that even if we don't have, I mean, I don't know. I just don't have the words for that one. It's tough. Frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. Ken, thoughts?
Yeah, this goes in the category of things that criminals don't care about.
Right.
Yeah. We keep making once again, this is rules that innocent, law-abiding people will follow, and criminals won't even hear about this. They don't care what affects the rate of their fire. They will pay whatever they need to pay for a fully automatic or a semi-automatic, and they'll go out and they'll commit their crimes. Start chasing the criminals. Stop chasing innocent people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And another thing that I noticed was kind of interesting on this is that you have to send in the application for authorization of rapid fire trigger activators to the actual ATF in Washington, D.C. And clearly the ATF is not going to entertain all these letters from Maryland people that send in these letters. There's no reason for them to do so. It would be like SB Tactical sends in a stock, meets all the requirements to send in, a brace, sends in all the requirements for that brace. Then the ATF will give them a determination letter for that specific item in that specific design by that specific manufacturer. So basically this letter is kind of sending in the same thing for each individual person. There's no way the ATF A can do it with the manpower requirement for that. B has any obligation to do so by any means. And just the whole thing is stupid. And they're obviously not going to send back anything that says they received it. So just sending in this letter and having it, return receipt on the letter or something like that is all that's really required. So just more stupidity, just more knee-jerk stupidity, in my opinion.
They feel like it's going to affect the way things are done with guns now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk often, and this next story kind of comes into this a little bit. I talk often about when we have firearms, we have this ultimate responsibility. I was teaching a class, I don't know, last weekend or the weekend before, and I talked about, when I am in my house and I have my firearm out and ready for use in a holster, concealed carry, ready for home defense, self-defense, whatever it happens to be, that when I leave the room, it goes with me. That no matter where I'm at, it is either with me or it is locked up. Because in my house, there's the occasional child that will come into the house, and if I get distracted, whatever happens, that kid walks into the room, they have access to a firearm. This next story, developmentally challenged man shoots UA student and caretaker jailed. So there's this caretaker of this developmentally disabled person. He goes into a restaurant to make a reservation. The developmentally disabled person finds a firearm in the vehicle and shoots a University of Alabama student. Injures them, doesn't kill them, but this is just when Monstroy talked about we have to police ourselves. This is the kind of thing. This is unacceptable. Leaving that firearm where unauthorized persons could access it for any reason, for any amount of time, is absolutely irresponsible, and they need to throw the book at him. They're saying that he's responsible. I fully feel that he's responsible. And yeah, we can say that mistakes happen. We can say that sometimes bad things happen when we're not thinking or whatever, but this is unacceptable. Karen, thoughts?
Well, I think it's absolutely unacceptable. And I think that when you are a caretaker of someone like that, you're at a higher accountability. There is no room for error. I mean, you have to always be, it's kind of like when you take care of an infant versus, an older child, like they're completely dependent on you. So it's just ridiculous. And believe it or not, I have been assaulted by a mentally ill person. She escaped in my old neighborhood, and my sister was trying to leave the house, and she was banging on the windows of her car, throwing rocks at me. And the person just wasn't paying attention, forgot to lock the back door, and she'd been missing for like 3 hours. before they realized she was even gone. But yeah, I mean, it's not the person's fault that has the disability. It's the caretaker. Yeah, I think they're 100% responsible.
Yeah. Ken?
I agree 100%. The caretaker should bear all of the responsibility, and they should throw the book at them. It's ridiculous that you leave your car, especially when you're dealing with children or the mentally disabled. Mm-hmm. Why would you leave a loaded firearm? I do digress slightly. Karen, you mentioned earlier about writing in stories that make it sound worse than it is when they said it's fully loaded. What's the difference between fully loaded and loaded? But okay. Right. So, but they should not have a loaded firearm in the car accessible by children or anyone else. Yeah. It's who has access to your firearm? Who do you give access to your firearm? Only people that you authorize to have access to it. The way to keep that from happening is by keeping track of your firearm. Have it on you.
Folks, your car is not your holster. Your holster is your holster, and it goes in your pants, your purse, wherever you can responsibly have it with you at all times. And Karen, we actually have something in common. I too was assaulted by a developmentally disabled person. It was about 20 years ago. I was at a Wendy's with my friends eating lunch, and one of them was cleaning the tables and just misaimed and sprayed me in the eye with Windex. And
I thought you were going to talk about when I came out to Colorado.
that was a different kind of assault, Ken.
Oh, okay. All right.
You got sprayed.
I did. It was so shocking, just that laser of cold, and I had no idea what it was. So like it was like I got hit by a sniper, and I open my eyes and I look across the table at my friends, and they've got tears running down their eyes. So I think, well, I'm dead. I've been shot and I'm dead. No, it was tears of laughter from what had just happened. So anyway, it's crazy. Let's see. Next story. Suicidal man shoots himself while handcuffed. Well, this is kind of an interesting one. This is in Spotsylvania. I don't actually know where that is. Does anyone know where that is?
No idea.
Isn't that where Dracula's from?
Yeah.
Transylvania.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Next door. It's the town next to it.
Exactly. I don't know where it is. Anyway, so this person's family calls because he is suicidal. The police decide to take him into custody, put him in the back of their SUV. Handcuffed behind his back is the way it appears. This person was able to get the handcuffs in front of their body, reach through into the restricted area of the vehicle, find a firearm, load said firearm, which was stored unloaded according to the story, and then shoot themselves in the head and the back of the cruiser. The person did survive. They were taken by ambulance. The sheriff's deputies brought him out, took him by ambulance to the hospital. He's had 5 surgeries. The person's mom is really super upset about it and has a GoFundMe page to help with their son's medical expenses. And I don't even want to talk about this one personally. I want you guys to talk about it. And Ken, I'll just start with you.
Okay. There's so much wrong with this story. I wasn't there. I don't know what the police officer did, but it doesn't feel like he was searched. Yeah, it feels like he got into that car with everything he needed to mess up. He made a phone call. Somehow he had his cell phone with him. He made a phone call while he was in back of the car. He shot himself while he was in back of the car. Who searched this guy? Yeah. And the other thing is he shot himself and he lived. That's the suckiest thing to ever happen. Yeah. I mean, it's not like he shot himself in the chest and left of his heart or whatever. You know, he actually tried to kill himself and live.
Yeah. And to be clear, it was the sheriff's deputy's gun from the front of the car that he was somehow able to get up there, and he shot himself under the chin.
Yes. Now, yes, it was the sheriff's deputy's gun that he got from on the other side of a fence that was there with ammunition. And what the heck is going on with this deputy's car?
I don't know. There's so many questions.
There's just so many holes in this story.
Definitely. Karen, thoughts?
To really try not to laugh. It's not funny, but I'm picturing like a contortionist. Like, how did he do that? Like, how did he get his hands around to the front and then handcuff, reach over? And where were they that they didn't see these handcuffed hands coming through I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to visualize it and I can't. So It's weird.
It's bad news. Like the whole thing's bad news. It is really tough to know how to feel on this one. On the one hand, you know, I think suicide is awful. I feel awful for the people that are left behind. And the officers or the sheriff's deputies were clearly trying to avoid that. They were clearly trying to provide help. And then for the mom to blame the deputies somehow that this is their fault. I mean, she called them because he was suicidal. It's a string of bad luck, and the mom needs to shut the heck up.
So he started behind his back, somehow got his handcuffed hands in front of him.
It's unclear
got
if they
the gun and shot himself here.
It's unclear if if they actually did get in front of him, but they do say that they were behind his back when they put him in the vehicle, but they actually don't say where they were when he shot himself. But yes, he either got the gun with his hands behind his back or with them in front of him and shot himself in the chin.
Yeah, this guy should not have killed himself. He had a career in magic.
Yep.
For the circus.
Houdini too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. And
I hate to make light of it. It's all sad. I apologize for it, but yeah,
it's okay.
It's crazy. Everything that he did to get to that gun, to kill himself, make a call before he did it from a cell phone that came from nowhere. Yeah. It's just amazing.
And then how bad is it going to be when he becomes conscious and realizes he failed? You know, like what was, I don't know, the whole thing's just, I mean, I'm glad he lived, but,
yeah, I'm not sure if I am or not. I don't know. It's a
Where was that at?
Spotsylvania.
Huh?
It almost sounds made up, but I think maybe it's in Virginia. Fredericksburg.com. I don't really know. I don't really know anything about anything anywhere really. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Detroit County Commissioner wants mental health background checks to buy bullets, cartridges. So this is Wayne County, obviously. So we're talking about Detroit here. This guy, his uncle and his brother, were killed by violence perpetrated with guns. So he is pretty upset about it, wants to require a mental health background check to buy cartridges and make people go to law enforcement agencies to get ammunition and raise taxes on bullets. And that all is crazy to me because that is a Jim Crow law. By putting taxes on cartridges, you immediately stop people who are poor, people who don't have a whole lot of money from exercising the inalienable right of self-defense. Karen, I want you to start us off on this one.
I think it's ridiculous. And I think, I'm sorry, whatever happened or didn't happen, it's just another way to have one more law, make it that much harder. And it's an infringement on our rights. It's just, it angers me.
It does me too.
It sure does.
Talking about taxing ammunition, talking about taxing gun sales, this stuff, gun control comes from racism. That's why it exists. And stuff like this, and this is being perpetrated by an African American, by a black man, who has lost people to violence perpetrated by guns. And instead of going after the actual problem, he wants to basically, stop the people who live in his district, who live in urban areas from even defending themselves. Ken?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is misguided. It goes back to when something happens, we feel like we need to do something. It always goes back to those feelings. We feel like something needs to be done right now. And the conclusion he came up with as he was brushing his teeth one morning was a tax on ammo will solve all of it. But once again, I point to innocent people following those laws, and only innocent people following those laws. If you're a criminal, you're buying it on the black market anyway, and you're already paying a tax. You're already paying more money for it than you should. So it doesn't matter. Criminals don't care. They will steal it from whoever bought the ammo legally. Unfortunately, the people that killed his relatives were criminals. That's what criminals do. Let's put that energy into pursuing those criminals.
Yeah. And not to bring it up again, but Maj Touré on Vice last night was talking about, going into those urban neighborhoods, like specifically he's doing with Black Guns Matter. And there's other organizations that are doing that. Community outreach, teaching conflict resolution, things like that. That kind of stuff I can get into because it actually attacks the root of the problem. It attacks our society. And that's where we need to really make a lot of these changes because that's where the fixes lie. I will say in this article that at the end of the article, there's a whole lot of opposition to this, and they quote some gun rights advocates. Rick Ector literally laughed at the idea, is the quote from this story. And it says, despite burgeoning opposition, Davis hopes that his bullet bill will be a model nationwide for preventing gun violence at Woodlawn Cemetery, which brings me to my next point. He's doing this press conference at a cemetery.
Yeah. He's looking for some camera time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The whole thing makes absolutely no sense. And you're right. The problems, the hard problems, this is an easy answer to the problem. Let's get rid of the guns. That's not what the problem is. Yeah, Europe is finding that out. You're going to kill crazy people and angry people and psychotic people are going to kill each other with knives and clubs and hammers. And yeah, it's going to happen. They're going to find ways to kill each other. Let's figure out why these things are happening in our urban communities. You know, what's going on, and really fix those problems. And you can name them off the bat: education, economy, jobs. There are several things that are, healthcare. These are all things that need to be fixed, but they're hard to fix. So let's just jump on the easy one and point at it and say, as a politician, I'm doing something. I'm saying we should ban bullets.
Yeah. It's the same thing as you see water leaking from your ceiling, so you just put some duct tape over it. You're not attacking the problem. You're just trying to hide the symptom, and it's stupid. Mark my words that right now, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, September 19th, 2018, that I'm calling this, that some of these stupid things, some of these ammunition taxes, et cetera, will pass throughout the United States in certain places. They will be taken to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will rule on the side that ammunition is required to use firearms, which are protected by the Second Amendment, and they will be added. I'm calling that right now. It's going to happen at some point, and ammunition will be just as protected as firearms will be.
I hope you are right.
Me too, because it would be embarrassing if I was wrong. All right. Next story. Everytown buys Florida state senator for $200,000. NRA blasts Bill Galvano over donations from gun control group. Our Second Amendment rights were sold. This comes to us from the Tampa Bay Times. And I read the article, and it seems pretty clear, actually. Everytown for Gun Safety, their action fund, donated to his political action committee. This was according to state filings dated September 4th. This Republican senator voted for SB 7026, which was the 2018 law that raised the minimum age a person is allowed to buy a gun, created a 3-day waiting period to buy any firearm, banned bump stock sales, and allowed armed staff in public schools. Well, he had historically voted against any kind of gun control acts. And then suddenly, after a $200,000 donation from Everytown for Gun Safety, voted for B7026. He says he stands by the donation, that he will make no apologize for the responsible steps we took in a bipartisan manner in the wake of the worst school shooting in our state's history. But to me, it seems pretty clear. He's always voted against gun control acts and things like that. Suddenly $200,000 shows up in his account, and he votes for one of the biggest gun control acts in Florida's history. Karen, what are your thoughts? Yep. that was my thought too.
Yeah, I think that's sad. It shows his character, and I think most people see right through that.
Yeah, I do too. I will say that it was interesting. The League of Women Voters also had a question. Why is a national gun control organization donating $200,000 to Bill Galvano's political action committee when Galvano voted against virtually every gun control bill in the 2018 legislative session? It's a logical question that needs an answer. I completely agree. Ken?
Yeah, I think that he needs to buy shiny suits and platform shoes and just look at us and say, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he has been pimped.
He's been turned out, as it were. Wow.
Yeah. That's it. And if you look at the numbers on his account, what was it? $30,000 was there before. Now there's $231,000 there. He made out pretty good.
Yeah, he really did. And they have another example of Senator Ana Terry Flores relieved $35,000 from Everytown and voted for SB 7026. So I always say this on my other show, We Like Shooting. At the very end, I say, join a gun-related advocacy group, because look, the NRA is a lobbying group. Plain and simple, they are a lobbying group. Everytown for Gun Control is a lobbying group. And if the NRA doesn't have the means necessary, and by that I mean the cash necessary to lobby as well as Everytown for Gun Safety, then we are going to lose this battle. every town, outspent the NRA in Florida. Whether they outspent them or just went after people that the NRA thought they had locked up, I don't know. But if we don't have that same lobbying power that every town does, backed by Bloomberg's millions and billions, then we will lose this fight. And that's plain and simple. I know a lot of people can't stand the NRA. I can't stand a lot of the things they do. I'm still a member. I still give money to the ILA because I live in the real world, and in the real world, lobbying organizations are necessary and mandatory to protect our Second Amendment rights.
Agreed 100%.
Yes.
All right. I'll jump off my soapbox now and talk about Cody Wilson from Defense Distributed, charged with sexual assault of a minor. Comes to us from the New York Times. This is an interesting one to unpack, so I'll just try to keep it brief. Cody Wilson, you may have heard about him in the 3D gun debate, basically went onto a website called meetsugardaddies.com, met up with a girl, went to a hotel, had sex with the girl that he met on meetsugardaddies.com, and paid her $500 in cash when they were done, because obviously, it's Meet Sugar Daddy, so he had to be a sugar daddy. And then this girl has now filed an affidavit. He's been arrested, and it's for underage. So a couple key points that I'll mention here is to be on meetsugardaddies.com. You have to be over 18, and you have to sign that in their terms of service, or you have to agree to it in their terms of service. So she's clearly lying. This feels like a setup. Whether he's doing it, whether he did it, I really don't care, because this girl knew what she was, in my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but she was on this website to meet people, to have relationships-ish with people for specific purposes, and she agreed that she was 18, and now this is kind of all coming out. It feels like a setup to me, but Karen, I want to start with you, because as a woman, I feel like you might tell me to shut up about what I just said.
Oh, absolutely not. I agree 100%. I think that she's on the site. She knows what it's for. I'm sure if he did this, their banter or their chatting was completely sexual. I'm sure she knew what exactly was going to be expected of her by meeting up with him. She went through with it, and then she turns around and says, I'm underage. I think it's pretty blatant. That's what she was out for.
Yeah.
Whether what he did is right, wrong, or indifferent, had she been over 18, it would have been legal. So, or source, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of those girls think that they can do that and then get away with it because they're minor and they just didn't know any better. I'm sorry. At a very young age, what is right and what is wrong, and it's her choice.
Yeah, I agree.
She's 18 or not.
I'm very much against the she was asking for it type mentality. That's ridiculous to me. No one ever asks for sexual assault of any kind. But to me, from the facts that I've read on this case specifically, I feel like she was in this for sexual relations, for money, for sexual relations, and now she's just upset. I don't know if that was because she blackmailed him, whatever. Ken, lay it down for us.
I read this twice. The first time I read it, I was like, if he did do it, throw him under a bus. And then I did exactly what you did. I looked at it and said, wait a minute, let me go take a look real quick. And you got to be 18. You got to agree to be there. What really happened here? And yeah, he's being accused of this. He's not convicted of this. He's not even in the country. This is just a good story right now. And the facts are just, there are no real facts here yet. I'm interested to see what the real facts are. I think that both of them need to be smarter. If I'm going to spend $500, it's not going to be on a 16-year-old. Yeah, there are more experienced people out there.
Right?
Yeah. And she clearly has made some mistakes. So I think they both need to be a lot smarter if it turns out to be true. Walking into this kind of problem is just use the other head.
Yeah. And I believe that he's not been accused of rape or anything like that, just sexual contact with a minor. So that tells me even more. And apparently this girl told a counselor, and then they confirmed the details using surveillance video. So let me ask you a very point blank question. If Cody Wilson had sex with a 16-year-old girl, with the facts that we understand that they were on this website that was clearly a hookup type website, and he's convicted of it and he's guilty of it, do you care as far as what he's done? Defense Distributed, 3D gun plans online, et cetera, et cetera. Like, does it matter, Karen?
No, it wouldn't matter to me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if he were, I don't know. I think I can keep those two things separate.
Yeah. Ken?
One has nothing to do with the other. Yeah. The only reason he's in the news is because he owns that company. But, it has nothing to do with the other. And yeah, if you take him out of it and you say, the kid down the street decided that he fell in love with a 16-year-old, it wouldn't mean anything. Yeah. They would say, hey guy, you really need to be careful with dating this girl. You could end up getting in trouble with it. Make sure you don't piss her off. And then 2 years after that, they get married. Yeah. It's nothing.
Yeah. I agree.
I think if they placed a tax on these sex sites, it would stop it altogether.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Wait a minute. That's a Jim Crow law. Oh man. I don't know. It's so crazy. All right, guys, let's move into the I'm offended segment.
It means I have no money.
That's right.
I will say that MeetSugarDaddies.com probably had record numbers today, and not just of visits, of new signups. This is the I'm offended segment where things offend us. I feel like all the news offends us these days because all the news seems so crazy to me, but there is an anti-gun group that says ammunition in checked bags could lead to 9/11 style attacks. I'll just let that sink in for a moment. So there's a group called FlyersRights.org, which claims to be the largest U.S. airline passenger organization with 40,000 members. They called on Trump to close the ammunition loophole because that ammunition in checked bags could lead to more 9/11 style attacks in the future. Let's keep in mind that as a passenger on a flight, you have no access to your checked baggage. You have no access to the legally carried ammunition up to 11 pounds in the original factory box, locked in a hard-sided case inside your luggage. You have no access to that whatsoever. But what this comes from is in January 2017 at the Fort Lauderdale airport, an ISIS-influenced combat veteran suffering from schizophrenia went to the bathroom, loaded a gun out of his checked luggage after he had landed, and killed 5 people and wounded 6 others. So they're saying that they falsely claim that he used an automatic firearm in the attack. Not true. Took further issue with the fact that TSA didn't ban firearms and ammunition together in bags the day after the rampage. But you can't because we have the Second Amendment. And they even claimed that the TSA was encouraging people to bring guns in their checked bags, which is ridiculous. They don't encourage it. It's legal. So they tell us how to do it legally. I think this is ridiculous. We've said that word so much tonight. Ken, what are your thoughts?
These are people who don't know anything about the regulations, have never owned a firearm, have never traveled with a firearm, who are trying to regulate something they don't understand. You can actually come from the outside into the luggage area of most airports carrying your firearm. Yeah. So it's not regulated there anyway. Yeah. There is nothing about what they're proposing that makes any sense. And they are also probably not the largest organization with those numbers.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Maybe Flyers Rights, but I don't even know. Karen?
I just think people waste so much time on stupid things. Like they think they have a solution, but it's just completely ignorant. It wastes everybody's time. It wastes everybody's money. It's just, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it's stupid. Just like when I flew with my gun just this past March and I was in the Orlando airport, when I got out, I had to go to the office to get my bag. So like you're out of the security area because you're in the baggage claim. So I had about 1,000 zip ties all the way around my bag in every direction. Yeah. And I was like, really? And she's like, well, that's so you can't access it and hurt anybody. I said, until I take it outside, cut it off, and then come back in. Like, I mean, whatever.
You didn't say that, right?
No. Not quite like that. But I said somebody could just walk outside and come back in. So what does this do? And it was just frustrating. I don't know. I just think it's a waste of time and it does nothing. It's just stupid.
In my opinion, what it does, it externally marks a bag saying, hello, there's a gun in here. So crooked baggage handlers, just random people that walk by and see a gun with a ton of zip ties that have any bit of, knowledge of current events. It advertises that there's a gun in there. In fact, Flyers Rights, this organization, they want that to stop. They want baggage clearly marked with a firearm inside of it, which is just astounds me that someone could be that stupid. I mean, that is encouraging people to steal that baggage. And in addition, they don't want TSA to pat down transgendered flyers because such pat downs are instilling fear in these passengers. I'm sorry, I don't care what your junk is, but if you pop on the x-ray, if you pop on the scatter beam or whatever it is, you need to be searched, because that's how we end up with 9/11 again. Not stupid ignorance where you can't even get to the ammunition that's down in the cargo hold of the plane.
Right.
Man, I actually am offended. I think my blood pressure's high tonight. Speaking of, member of Democrat Socialists of America threatens to shoot up a MAGA event. This is at a Trump hotel. It was a Make America Great Again. They posted on Twitter and basically said, "I'm coming with a gun and I expect to get numerous bloodstained Make America Great Again hats as trophies." This was in response to a lady named Cassandra Fairbanks who was going. And yeah, so, you know, I just saw a video with Steven Crowder where this teacher, this professor at a college, had basically accused Crowder and falsified a bunch of Twitter stuff and made it look like Crowder had threatened to kill his kid, like just clearly complete fabrications. And Crowder went to his classroom and he's like, "Why would you say these horrible things and accuse me of saying these horrible things that are clearly not true?" And it's the exact same kind of thing. Like, words have meaning and you just can't say stuff like that. I would never encourage violence against people who are anti-gun. You know, I want people who are anti everything in the universe because I like having two viewpoints on every topic, but just this kind of violence, we're seeing it a lot more. I think it's crazy. Ken?
Yeah, 100% crazy. And it doesn't matter. It's crossing political parties. It's crossing race, gender. We need to get a hold of ourselves out here. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Saying these kind of things. How does that help our country in any way? Yeah. How are we making our country better by saying we want to kill someone? Yeah. We're in a democratic country. We go out and we vote for who we want to be there. And we don't all agree with who ends up in the highest office of our country. We don't all agree on that. We never do. We never all agree on that. But we do agree that it is the way our country works, and we move forward and we make the best of whatever situation we might be in. And yeah, there are backstops for whatever problems might come up, you know, with that office. Yeah. Why are we trying to hate each other? You know, what's going on with us? Why are people trying to hate each other so bad? Why are we trying to hurt each other? Yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah. Karen?
I just think it's a bunch of adults that are like children throwing temper tantrums, but they're violent. You know, I didn't get what I want. I didn't get my way. I won't accept it. Everyone's used to everybody gets a trophy. I don't know. I just think there's a mentality that is out there, and I don't know. It's very double standard. It's very hypocritical. It's very violent. And there are a lot of people that think like what that guy did is okay.
Yeah. Because
it was for the cause. No, he's crazy.
Yeah. And
no one can look at this stuff logically because they're so blinded by what I believe is conditioning. People bring condition, and I don't know. It's insanity to me.
I completely 100% agree. All right, that'll do it for I'm Offended. Let's move into our full-on news segment, which just has crazy stuff. But you guys each picked a story before the show. Ken, why don't you start us off? Tell us what your story is.
Well, I had to pick the dad because I have a daughter, and you know, I kind of see myself in this guy a little bit. Yeah. You have a daughter and you go, you know what? I might have to go pull a Will Smith on this guy if he tries to date my daughter. The ex-boyfriend comes to the house and he's banging on the door, and, they have company there. I guess, people from, the East Coast were staying with them. The daughter's there. She doesn't live there. She was hanging out there as well. She broke up with the kid, and, he's a young gentleman, and he decided he wanted her back or didn't like the breakup. So he's banging on the door and decides to break into the house. And that didn't go real well for him. The father shot him a couple of times in the chest. They're not sure exactly, how it's going to shake out, but it looks like he broke into the house and he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing, and he got shot in the chest. So, yeah.
Definitely. Karen?
Yeah, I think that the dad was justified because, you see all the stories of these crazy teenagers that can't handle the breakup. And in this world where not everybody is with it anymore and everything's okay, you hear stories all the time where they kill the ex-girlfriend or they're possessive or they stalk them. And I think the dad was doing what he should have done. He shouldn't have been in the house. You don't break into a house. And if you do, that's what happens or could happen. So, he doesn't know what is he going to do? Wait around for this kid's intent and see what if he had a gun? You don't know. So,
I mean, were they in jeopardy? Quite possibly. You could easily argue that. Did this person have the ability to cause bodily harm or death to them? Absolutely. And jeopardy, ability, and opportunity. Was the opportunity? Yeah, he busted his way into the house. He had the opportunity and the ability, and they were in jeopardy. That's pretty much clear-cut self-defense. So, good for them. Sorry to the dumb kid. Hope he is less dumb. Karen,
and the dad is telling the daughter, listen to me when I tell you the guy is crazy next time.
Exactly. Karen, what was your story?
My story comes from Australia. So, so funny to me. Okay, so this isn't even gun related, but there were two big pythons that these people had, male pythons, and they were both almost like 6 feet long. They came crashing down in the apartment building through the ceiling of the people below them and landed in the spare bedroom. And if you read the article, it says they were dueling it out.
What?
So you think they're going to be like hissing and stuff. But when you look at the video, it looks like some sort of tantric mating ritual. They're just like really slow. But anyway, so they started fighting because they picked up a scent of a female. So they start to fight because they want to show her who's stronger, who's more worthy. So, I mean, how many snakes are in this apartment building? But anyway,
right. This is
so
awful.
they get into this duct in the floor, and as they're slowly going at it, somehow they fall through and land in the people below their spare bedroom. And then they had to call the snake handler, and he came and got them or whatever, but they don't know where the female snake is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's even more concerning.
I know, but I guess if I was going to put spin on this,
wow.
What if it was the master bedroom and there was a couple having relations, or you were in the bathroom, or I don't know, dinner table, snakes, I don't know. They're huge, but I just thought it was kind of funny.
Holy moly. That's not something you recover from. Those snakes drop in your bathtub. You don't get better after that. Like you are messed up for the rest of your life. And in Australia, y'all need to get things under control. Y'all crazy. I was worried about drop bears. Now we got drop pythons coming down. And you're right, Karen. I don't know whether they're fighting or, I don't want Kenny to have to bleep it, but I think you get the point.
Right? It looks a little, I don't know.
Yep. All right.
Tantric.
It does. That is the perfect explanation. And that'll do for the show, guys. But before we go, I want to talk to you guys. Karen, what have you been up to?
Writing, and training. I have my ladies concealed carry class this Sunday. Day early. This is a group of ladies who, most of them are wives with the husbands that I shoot with. So they want to learn to carry. They want to start using, a handgun, but they're really basically intimidated by what they don't know. So that's what the class is going to be about, starting at, the very beginning. This is your gun. This is a magazine, and then just shooting with them. And I've got a Spectrum, Taurus Spectrum. It's like a little 380.
Yeah.
It has very, very, very little recoil. It is surprising.
Nice.
My goal is they'll get a little more comfortable because not everybody wants to learn from their husband. They feel a little intimidated like that. But I'm also going to teach them how to carry, how they don't have to sacrifice their wardrobe and things like that. And then hopefully they'll get integrated to where they actually come to the range with the guys and just be shooters and not so segregated.
Love it. And I sent you a message. I sent you a message a couple of weeks ago. Like I was sitting there reading an Athlon Outdoors publication, and sure enough, there was Karen Hunter in it. That's exciting.
Yeah. Been writing a lot. I think Ken gets a lot of my articles to do the layouts and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I sure do.
And he does a great job too. I'm like, oh, look at that.
I know. He does do a great job. Now, Karen, where can people find you online and keep up with all the cool stuff that you're doing?
Instagram, Twitter. It's my leg.
Nice.
That's so embarrassing. My brother's in there too. We should show my brother.
Okay.
He'll get a kick out of it. He's somewhere in there. I made him hold up a kettlebell.
Nice.
I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. KLHunter42. There's Scotty.
There he is. Awesome. All right, Kale Hunter 42. That is awesome. And keep an eye out. She's writing, she's teaching, she's doing all the things. Karen, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Ken, my man, what
man.
you been up to?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of everything. I am helping out with the IDPA match coming up this weekend. I'm putting out, we just put out several magazines, finished putting out Concealed Carry, and I'm working on Ballistic right now. We've got Personal Defense World coming out. We've got our Athlon Outdoors Rendezvous coming up at the end of the month. We've got, which Karen will be there hanging out with us, and Fred as well. We've got a lot going on. Look for a lot of social media and media content coming out of that at the end of the month. And I'm staying. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not doing too much.
Other than that, yeah, no big deal. And Athlon Outdoors making some awesome stuff. I do love getting all the magazines in. I literally have a pile next to my desk that when I get frustrated or just need a break, I just kick back, look at the magazines, and they usually inspire me to do something cool. So when does the next issue of Ballistic come out?
So my timing is always way off on this because I work on it and then 3 weeks later it comes out. So I believe it will be out by the end of this month. Okay. But I could be wrong. Okay. I just know I'm done.
Exactly. And where can people find all the cool stuff from Athlon?
That's a great question, Shawn. You can find most of it on newsstands, and we are also, Ballistic is now also on Zinio. You can find us on Zinio as well. So you can get it digitally, and a number of our other publications are starting to show up on Zinio. So we're moving forward here. You can also find our content online at ballisticmag.com. You can find us at tacticallife.com, personaldefenseworld.com, and I'm forgetting one, realworldsurvivor.com. That's what happens when you have so much media.
Exactly. Someone confiscate his guns.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome, man. And where can they find you personally?
You can find me on Instagram primarily, or on Facebook. You can find me under Ken Ross or Crosstack at Crosstack, KROSSTAC.
All right. I love it, Ken. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Same here, man. Enjoyed myself.
All right, guys. So go ahead, check out all the stuff that they are up to. Check out our website, firearmsradio.tv. It's got all the greatest podcasts in the universe all in one place. So you can just subscribe to everything and find it all. Thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you very much to our viewers, our downloaders. We couldn't do it without you guys. We really appreciate it. And go check out Patriot Patch Company and Manticore Arms. See all the cool stuff they're getting up to as well. This Week in Guns is produced by Kenny Ortega and is a production of the Firearms Radio Network. I'll talk to y'all next week.